Hello and welcome back to Podium Pop. My name is Celine and I'm here with my co-host Gracie. Today we have a very fun recap episode for you all where we are going to be kind of talking about the race and my experience at the Daytona 24-hour race that I attended this past weekend. But before we get into it, make sure you are following us on social media. I posted quite a bit from the racetrack over the weekend, both on TikTok and on Instagram. So make sure that you are following us for that content. We also post all of our episodes on Spotify and on YouTube. So make sure you go subscribe on those to keep up with all of the new episode drops. Let's go ahead and pop the bottle. Let's get right on into it and start our Daytona 24 recap.
Let's do it. Should we explain what the Daytona 24 is for people who might not have watched or don't know what it is?
Yeah, so Daytona 24 is a IMSA race. So it is an endurance race. It's literally a race that lasts 24 hours. And it is part of the IMSA WeatherTech season, WeatherTech Tournament Challenge season. But it is a bit of a special case where a lot more teams participate in it. So you get a lot of WEC teams participating. You'll get some teams that typically do ELMS participating. And it's just a little bit more, there's definitely many more entries than a normal IMSA race. It's literally 24 hours. Teams consist of 3 to 4 drivers per team. And depending on what category you're in, will determine what kind of driver you need for the team. So there's 4 categories. There is GTP, there's LMP2, there's GTD, and GTD Pro. And all of them are different types of cars. They have different requirements. There's different specs on them. But all in all, they are all racing at the same time for 24 hours. And the final, there's an overall race winner. And then there's a winner of each category as well. It's a very, very brief overview of it. We just recently started getting into IMSA. We actually covered it on TikTok last year. It was like the very first thing that we made TikToks about. So if you scroll to the bottom, we probably sound confused and probably aren't giving the most accurate information, so maybe don't. And even now, I learned so much this weekend, but there's still so many things that I get confused about, and I'm not quite sure, so definitely what I say maybe take with a grain of salt. I try to. Yeah, we're on the IMSA journey. And it was kind of like this with IndyCar too, where at first we're like, we think this is stuff, but tell us if we're wrong. But all in all, I feel like I gained so much knowledge this weekend. I had the very best time, guys.
I love that.
It was so much fun. There were a lot of familiar faces participating that if you follow IndyCar and if you follow Formula One, that you will definitely know. I mean, so many, like Scott Dixon, Scotty Mack, literally like a billion more than
Arthur Leclerc was
Arthur, Pietro Fittipaldi, Romain Grosjean.
Oh, poor Romain Grosjean.
Yeah. Daniel Kvyat. There's so many more. Who else? I know.
Callum Ilott.
Oh yeah, Callum Ilott participated.
The whole Iron Dames.
Oh, K-Mag. K-Mag participated. Iron Dames. So many just familiar faces. And last year, last year Pato did it. And I think Nolan Siegel did it last year as well.
Yeah, he did.
Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso have done it in the past. There's just so much overlap between the different series that it was really cool because you saw not only the huge IMSA fans and the fans that were there from that go to Daytona every year, but also it bringing in new fans. A lot of the people, it really, would we be covering Daytona this year if it wasn't for some of the IndyCar drivers that we know and follow doing it last year.
Yeah, I don't think I would have really noticed if Pato hadn't have done it last year. I obviously would have noticed. It's a huge race, but
but it definitely made us pique interest,
watch.
And it's really the overlap is really a beneficial thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit about the race first or your experience first?
We can do a little bit about the race. I mean, it's 24 hours long. So many things happened.
There were some notable moments.
I will say that the biggest difference between last year and this year is last year it felt like there were a lot more yellow flags at the very beginning of the race, where this one you didn't see a lot of that until nighttime.
Yeah.
And then they were just popping up out of nowhere. It was impossible to keep up with. It's also so hard to know what's going on while you're at the track.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Because there's like a lot of screens on the infield, but on the actual grandstands, there's only one screen for all of the grandstands, so everyone's sitting in one section. And if you're in the infield, you don't have great service. So if you're not in front of a screen, but you're watching, you're like, who was that? Especially at night when, like, you just see, like, the headlights and you can't necessarily tell who it is. It was, like, impossible so much that, like, there was a crash that happened and we were, like, texting, like, Gracie and some of our other friends that were home watching the race to try to get updates on, like, what was going on. So that was, I think, one of maybe, like, the one downside is I probably would know what happened during the race a lot better if I was watching from home.
Yeah.
But there were so many good overtakes. It was such close racing. Like, just when, like, you're, like, this person's pulling away, anything can happen. And I think that's the amazing thing about it being a 24-hour long race or any endurance race in general is that, like, there's a time with, like, Formula 1 and IndyCar, unless something crazy happens, if, like, someone's, like, 10 seconds ahead, it's pretty much, like, a done deal. Or if, like, again, if something, like, crazy happens, like, there's a crash or someone, like, breaks down or something like that. But, like, with this, it's 24 hours long. Like, something happened where, like, like, Spike is like, a whole, like, 10 laps ahead. It was never 10 laps. But, like, so far ahead of all the other people, like, there's nothing that they can do. And it's like, well, there's still 19 more hours. So, like, and obviously things did happen because Spike did not win.
That was so sad.
For LMP2, which was really disappointing. We were rooting for a couple different ones. But all in all, like, the race, it was just so many overtakes. And it was so cool seeing more than one type of car racing at once that it kept, like, every lap was interesting. Like, there was, like, a battle going on in every lap. It was never, like, a moment where I was like, I'm getting kind of bored. Like, you'd think after 24 hours, but it was never the case.
Yeah.
So.
That's amazing. I did watch from home, but I also was doing a lot of stuff. I had 2 separate birthday events to attend for 2 separate people.
Okay, Miss Popular.
Yeah. I admittedly didn't watch as much as the race as I, like, would have wanted to, so Celine definitely knows more, and she was there. What was your favorite part of watching it in the grandstands?
I think, honestly, the atmosphere.
Really?
Like, all of the fans were so, like, into the racing. Like, it was really cool being there, and all of these fans, they've been following, like, they've been coming to Daytona for years. They've been going, like, with their parents, like, with their dads growing up. Cool. So that was super cool, but also just being able to kind of experience similar to, and I was telling Gracie a little bit about this, but similar to how when we first went to our first IndyCar race and compared it to, like, we'd only been to Formula 1 at that point, the difference between it is very much the same how it feels like with IMSA, where you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much access to things. It's so, like, there's so many drivers and so many cars that, like, you would just be walking by and, like, in one walk to the bathroom, you would be in the paddock, or in the infield, you would pass by, like, 4 different drivers, and they weren't swarmed with people. They weren't, like, and even with IndyCar, it's getting to where, like, they, get asked for pictures, which is good. I asked for pictures too. But it was, like, just a different, like, it was, like, a chiller atmosphere, I think. But, like, at one point we were walking in the garages and we, like, look up and PH was just walking towards us. He's like, hey guys, what's up? And we're like, hey.
Hi.
And we just chatted with him for a little bit and then we just went on our way. And it was a very, like, relaxed experience. I mean, I'm sure the teams weren't relaxed. I'm sure they were very stressed. But it was a relaxing, like, atmosphere being actually at the race.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's talk about qualifying.
Yeah. Qualifying. So something weird about the actual race and watching it is qualifying you could not get into the grandstands for. You could only get in the grandstands for the actual races.
That's so interesting.
So we missed, like, the first chunk of quali because we tried to take the tram over to the grandstands, and they're like, no, the grandstands aren't open today. So we took the tram back, and they were open. The grandstands were open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we watched quali from the infield. There were a lot less people there on Thursday than the weekend. Even more on Friday, but, like, Thursday was pretty empty. And because of that, I think that's why they didn't want to, like, hire the extra security to monitor the grandstands, because there'd probably be like a minimum of like 100 people in the grandstands.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're not going to open the whole thing for that. So I get why, but I think I wish there probably was communication somewhere about it and we missed it. Like, I'm not going to put that on them. But, so we watched from, like, there was a, like, viewing area in the infield that kind of, like, overlooks the garages, but also you can see the track from. There's a TV screen nearby. So we watched there in the fan zone. And the fan zone was really cool. It had, like, a lot of, like, the Rolex merch and the IMSA merch, as well as, like, a bunch of, like, places to eat. That's where they did the autograph signings, all of that. So we watched quali from there. But quali was really interesting because, again, similar from when we were going from Formula 1 to IndyCar, like, the quali is set up in a completely different structure.
Did they go by class?
Yeah. Okay. So they do the classes at, like, each time. They don't do them all at once. But it was, again, like, a situation where, like, if I was watching from home, I probably would know better what was going on than, like, if I was watching in person.
Wait, I could also, like, have 100% been missing it. I couldn't find quality. I didn't think it was on the Peacock app.
It wasn't being streamed?
I didn't see it. I also, like, admittedly was working. So I, like, tried to look really quick, and I could have missed it. I don't know. I don't know if it was on Peacock. I watched some of the race on Peacock when I wasn't in the grandstands. But I don't know if quality was. I know it was streamed somewhere, so maybe it was on the IMSA YouTube channel. Yeah, maybe
it could have been.
I was also at work, so like I shouldn't have.
Yeah. But K-Mag qualified really good on pole.
It was his teammate did it, right?
Right. Yeah. I meant K-Mag's team. Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, that was K-Mag.
No, it wasn't him. And then Pietro's team, Pratt Miller for the LMP2. Qualified in 4th.
Yeah, that was good.
Which was so amazing. Again, as a Pietro fan, like, it's just so different, you know, where he was in IndyCar versus where he is in endurance racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Who qualified for them?
I don't actually know. I think it was maybe Chris.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me.
It's so hard at the track to keep track of things.
It's hard because I also, like, would, especially during quali when I wasn't in front of the screen, would be going based off of, like, the, what's that thing called?
The tower,
where it just gives you the drive or the car number.
Yeah.
And so I was just looking for the car numbers that I was cheering on. Which also was really difficult to keep track of all of the car numbers.
I was having such a hard time.
Like, I like wrote them down, and I had, like, that as a reference. I always remembered, 73. But, like, just kind of keeping track. And also, like, it's hard, too, because I was, like, rooting for so many different teams and so many different people. Spoiler alert, despite literally rooting for probably half of the cars, none of my cars won. So that's great.
Yeah.
You know.
It happened. It happened at the 500, too. So.
Yeah, that's true. So, one of our teams won in Le Mans. United Autosport.
Yeah, United Autosport did win Le Mans.
So there's something. But
I had a question. I forget what I was going to ask you. Oh, not a question. AO made it very easy with Spike and Rexy being 99 and 77.
Yeah.
That was, like, the easiest.
They also did amazing with keeping up on social media.
Oh, their social media was great this weekend.
Fantastic.
It was so good.
Yeah. It made it a lot easier. Like, even I was, like, just referencing their, like, social media to, like, try to determine, like, what was going on, you know?
Wow, for our YouTube watchers, Celine's cat just jumped on our decor behind us and then jumped up to the banister.
Yeah, she does that sometimes. So, she'll jump down eventually, so...
Yeah, she will. Sorry, I just startled, and I did want people to be like, what was that? Do you want to tell the horror story, or no?
I'll tell the horror story.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So if you follow us on social media, you will see that we had a scam hotel situation. So we booked this hotel a couple of months ago, and it had good ratings. They weren't like, this is the best place ever, but they're like, it's fine. We stayed there. We were with our family. Everything was fine. And the rooms looked really nice in the pictures. Like, nothing, again, super fancy, but we were near the track. It wasn't super expensive. It was still actually kind of pricey, but it wasn't, like, the most expensive thing ever.
For a race weekend.
We get there, and we, like, obviously we got there, we drove down. So we got there early in the morning at, like, maybe, like, 10 a.m., and we're like, well, go let them know that we're here, even though we know that the room probably won't be ready yet. And it wasn't. We talked to them. But they're like, oh, like, you can I was like, can we use the lobby bathroom to like change and like we're gonna just go leave our car here, go to the track. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. The lobby bathroom was very nasty and it was very like run down and it looked like it just hasn't been taken care of. And we're like, oh my gosh, like bad sign. Just like if that's a reflection of what the room looks like, it's a really bad sign. But we're like, I don't know, like the pictures looked fine. You know, it could be just the lobby's not maintained. Like maybe, you know, I don't know. We don't know. But all that to say that the lobby was kind of gross. So we go to the track for the day. We come back. We'll come back after quali. So it wasn't super late. We get to the hotel at maybe like 6:37. We get the keys. We were supposed to have conjoined rooms, and they had no idea what we were talking about. Even though we asked the lady when we first got there at 10 a.m., hey, are these two rooms conjoined rooms? And she said yes. And then when we got there later, there was a man there. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have conjoined rooms. Well, we get there. We get the two keys. We're walking in. The hallway is disgusting. It smells like piss. There's questionable stains all over the stairs.
Oh, no.
Like, it was just gross. It was like there were drips of water everywhere. There were water stains on the ceilings and on the walls. It was so gross. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be bad. We just know it's going to be bad. So we get up to our rooms, and we are right next to each other. And I think there was a language barrier with the guy at the front desk because they were conjoined rooms, by the way, in our original room. So we get up to a door, and originally we had some other people meeting us, but originally it was me and Ryan going to one room and our friends Andrea and Marley going to the other room. And me and Ryan get up to our door, and the door is just not closed. Like it's closed as much as it can.
That's crazy.
But it's literally like off its hinges so much that it cannot physically close. Even Ryan was like trying to physically force it shut. Because I was like, maybe they just left it open and it didn't click all the way when they were cleaning. Like it could have been that. I was like, before we go in, try to close it and see if the key works. And he couldn't even physically jam it closed. And so we're like, okay, like let's go talk to Andrea and Marley. So we walk over next door to their room, and they're just standing there like literally like not touching anything, and they are like, it's disgusting in here.
Oh no.
It didn't have like a cover on the box spring. You just saw like the white. Ew. And it was stained. It was nasty. So first thing I did was I pulled up the mattress, the sheets to check for bed bugs, because Gracie does that every time we travel.
I sure do.
Which there were no bed bugs. That's good.
Yeah.
But there were curtains on the like windows that were like stained, like with water stains, and like it looked dirty. Like they were supposed to be white curtains. They looked like they were like camo. Like that's how gross it was.
Oh my god.
I didn't even go into the bathroom.
Ooh,
I don't even know what the bathroom looked like.
Yeah.
It was honestly the most disgusting hotel room I've ever stepped foot in my life.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
And we were like, so the four of us kind of sat there, and we're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Like, what are we gonna do? We already like checked in. Like, they charged the card. Like, are we gonna be able to get a refund? Like, we're so confused. Like, we signed paperwork. Like, all of this, and we're like, okay, like first let's go tell them about me and Ryan's store. Like, that's the biggest issue here.
Yeah, for sure.
So we go down there, and the front desk guy was shocked about it, and so he gave us a new room. So already that put us to where we were not directly next to each other.
Yeah.
Which was a huge safety concern, because it didn't seem like the safest hotel to stay in anyways. But now we're not even near each other. Marley and Andrea would be...
It stayed.
Marley and Andrea would be in a room by themselves at the end of a hallway.
Ooh.
Or right by a highway. Like, it was just not good.
Yeah.
We were doing research. I forget. I think Andrea found it, but somewhere she found that the area that the hotel was in specifically was a hotspot for sex trafficking.
Oh my god.
And that it was also a hotspot for a lot of like prostitution and a lot of drug activity. So we're like, there's just no way.
It's just not safe.
Not safe. So thank God Andrea is... We're sending Andrea in. Because Andrea, one thing about her, she's going to go and she's going to take care of business.
No,
and
yeah,
she's
absolutely.
not going to, like, be nervous to be like, you're absolutely giving us our money back. So we send... And because it was under Marley's name, so we send Marley and Andrea to the front desk office, and me and Sarah, our friend Sarah arrived at this point. So it was me, Sarah, and Ryan in the room, and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? So we start looking at hotels. We start looking at Airbnbs. I find one, and so I text them. I'm like, what's it looking like? Because I found an Airbnb that we can book. It would be cheaper than what we were staying in already.
Yeah.
Because at that point we were considering like just sleeping in like cars and camping somewhere. That's how disgusting it was. And we were like, we're just going to have to eat the cost. Luckily, they get to the front desk, and their story is that it was recently bought by a new company, and it like merged with another, like I think it was like merged with another hotel. That's where like a lot of the good reviews were coming from. And they were renovating it, and it was half renovated. So half the rooms, because it was split up into two buildings. One of the buildings had all, according to them, newly renovated rooms, and we were in the other building. Sure. And that doesn't really excuse all of like the sex trafficking, like in general, just the bad area. That wasn't talked about in the reviews anywhere.
I was like, how in good faith can you rent out these rooms?
Exactly. And so he was like, well, and Andrew was just like, hey, we need to talk to you. And the guy was like, oh, I'll help you out first. And she was like, no, like, we're going to need to have a conversation. Like, you need to help the other guests, and then we're going to have a conversation.
I love that.
So she goes up there, and he was like, she's like, how do we get our money back and cancel this room? And he could tell that, like, one, you don't mess with Andrea, but two, that we were ready to kind of, like, we're about to call the news. Like, this is false advertisement.
Absolutely.
This picture on the website that you currently have up is not the picture of the room at all.
Yeah.
It couldn't even be, like, mistaken for it. So he could tell that we were not happy. And I think that he also knew, I think, felt nervous about it. He, again, probably didn't feel good about renting it out to people.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it wasn't his decision to still rent it out. Like, I'm sure that he can't, like, be like, I don't know if you all want to stay here.
No, yeah.
So he's just working. So he goes, well, I can show you, we can put you in one of the renovated rooms, or I can just give you your money back, and you can have, you can cancel and have your money back. And he's like, I just don't know if you would find another place. And so at this point, I already texted them. I was like, hey, I found a place. I can book it right now. And I just get a text from Angie. She says, book it. And then 10 minutes later, I booked it. And I sent back. I said, we got it confirmed. And she said, okay, give us our money. So we got all of our money back. We make it to the new Airbnb, which is like literally less than half of the price of the hotel room that we had. And it's on the beach. And we are all in the same space. In the same like apartment, basically. Yeah. The people were lovely.
That's good.
And we did it very last minute. Like, we literally booked it at, like, 7 p.m. And, like, on the Airbnb app. And we were in the apartment by, like, 7:30. So, I don't know. Because they even had to, like, approve it. And I called him. I was like, I know this is last minute. I don't know if the office is still open for us to pick up our key. Like, I was so worried about that. And they were so great.
That's good.
And so we were safe and sound.
While you all were traveling to the new location, I like have everybody's location. So I was like looking. I was like, I wonder what they're doing. Like, if they have to check, and like, what are they doing? And I was like, oh, they're traveling. I was like, why are Marley and Andrea with like Celine? And I was like, that's like so weird. I was like, that's crazy. And then I kid you not, 2 minutes later, I get a text that says 911 update. And I was like, oh, God.
I called Gracie. I was like, Gracie, I wish you were here right now. It was so scary. No. I, like, legitimately, like, was shaking. Like, my hands were shaking. It was such a scary experience. Like, at one point, like, Ryan was, like, going up to get something from Marley, and I was, like, left alone in the parking lot, and I was like, Ryan, don't ever leave me alone in that parking lot. And he's like, you're right, that was really messed up. I'm so sorry. Not that, like, bless his heart, don't know how much help Brian would be in his I'd actually think I'd prefer Andrew to be there. Andrew would save me. Ryan would be fine.
Yeah.
But, no, it was a little scary. And, like, my hands didn't stop. Like, we like, sat down. We got into the new Airbnb. We all sat down in the living room. We just stared at each other, and we're like, Like, we just, like, had to decompress for a second. Like, all of us were so, like, anxious about it and so stressed out. We were all just kind of staring at each other, and we're like, guess we're going to bed. Like, and at this point, also, me, Marley, and Ryan, we drove overnight, and then we went right to the track. So we hadn't slept in over 24 hours at this point. Over, like, 30 hours at this point. And then that happened, and I was like, I have to shower right now because I feel so gross even stepping foot into that room. And then I need to go to bed. And I did. And I slept so good.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was nice. So yeah, anyways, and then I made a TikTok about it, and it actually was really nice. So many people were like, reached out, and they're like, are you okay? Like, just checking in on you. I saw your TikTok, I saw your Instagram. So nice. Like, so many other, like, content creators, and even some of the people that we met, that we knew that were at the track and in Daytona that week. They're like, is everything okay? And I was like, everything's fine now.
Like, we're good now, I promise.
I was joking. I was texting one of my friends from home about it, and he was like, because he knew that I was, like, vlogging, and he was like, did you vlog it? And I was like, no, I was a little preoccupied. He's like, Celine, you should have vlogged it. I was like, I know, but, like, that vlogging was not at the top of my mind at the moment.
That's so fair.
Maybe once I get more, familiar with vlogging, get used to it, that would have been a good pulling out the camera situation. But
imagine though, you're like stressed, you're like, what do we do? And you're like, hey guys, anyway.
I think everybody else in the group would have been like, Celine, what are you doing?
Not the time, girl.
Marley did take some videos and some photos, which I'll show you.
Yeah,
I should show you, but it was so scary. But we survived, and we actually had a fantastic Airbnb. It was right on the beach. We had such a beautiful view of the sunrise. And all in all, it was actually, like, a great place to stay. It was really affordable. I think it's only affordable because I booked it, like, literally the day of. Like, they just dropped in prices.
Yeah.
But it was really great.
Nice. I love that. Okay. What'd you guys do Friday?
So, Friday, we went to the track. And Friday, the biggest thing that we were excited about was the driver's signings.
Yeah.
So they had like, the practice session going on. As well as some other, like, racing series, like MX5 was racing that day as well. They had, like, a 4-hour long race. But they had the autograph signings as well. And so the way that the autograph signings were set up is there were so many drivers and so many teams that, like, you're not going to be able to meet all of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, like, they have, like, rows, and you get in the line for a specific row. So, like, it would just so happen that, like, if your favorites were all in the same row, great. If not, you'd have to, like, kind of pick and choose.
Okay.
If you finish in a row, you're able to go to another line, but there's no guarantee that there still isn't going to be a long line that you're not going to be able to get through the line in time. The autograph session lasted an hour, and I was able to get through 3 lines during that time, which I was actually really shocked about.
Nice. Some of the lines that they were, like, posting on the IMSA, like, Twitter and stuff, were insane.
K-Mag's line was definitely the longest.
I was going to say, yeah, it looked like it was.
I was not able to go through K-Mag's line. K-Mag was also, I think, in the same line with the winners from the year before.
Oh,
like the Porsche Penske teams. So it was, like, a really long line. Like, that was, like, and there's always, I was talking with people that have been before, there's always, like, 1 or 2 lines, like, that always have so many people. Like, they said when Jensen Button did it, like, his line was super long.
That makes sense.
So the line that I got into was literally, like, the perfect line for me because it had all of the Ferrari teams, which was cool that I got to meet Arthur. It had Inter Europol, which I'm a huge fan of. It had Spike, the Spike LMP2 car. And it's Christian Rasmussen, and also, how do you just not love AO?
Christian Rasmussen has been hilarious on
No, we had a conversation about that actually,
He's been so good.
He's been so good. We're like, who took over for him? Like, literally. I don't know who it is, but, like, keep it up. And then Pietro was also in that line, his team, so Callum Ilott was there as well. Did I say Inter Europe? Inter Europol was in that line.
Did you meet Tom Dillman?
I did.
I love that for you.
I did meet Tom Dillman. Did I say anything without being like, will you sign this? No, that's all I said.
Well, that's okay.
I go, hi, will you sign? He was also the very first in line, too.
Aww.
And so I was like, will you sign my, what is it called? Will you sign my license plate? He's like, sure. And then Marley comes right behind, or she's like, Marley's right in front of me. She goes, will you sign this butt cushion?
Marley loves getting her butt cushion signed. Those are iconic.
So, it was really great. So the first line was awesome that we went through. When I got to Pietro, I think it's so funny because, like, me and Pietro, obviously, we're familiar with each other at this point. He knows who I am. I know who he is. It's fine. But I don't think, like, other drivers and other teams necessarily expect someone to be, like, a huge diehard Pietro fan. Like, we saw it in Mid-Ohio whenever I was talking to the guy at the Honda tent, and he was like, I've never heard of someone's favorite driver being Pietro. I was like, first of all, that's really rude.
Fucking rude, yeah.
And second of all, that's not true. But as I was going down the line, I forget if it was James Rowe. So it's Pietro on his team with Callum Ilott, James Rowe, who does Indy next, and then Chris Cummings. I'm not really familiar with Chris Cummings, but he's, I think, he's more experienced in, like, endurance racing.
Yeah.
But I think it may have been Callum that when I was going down the line, Pietro was last out of the four of them. And I'm pretty sure Callum, who's sitting next to him, goes, hey, check out her hat. Like, he's about to be like, Callum, you'll never guess. Someone is here. Or Callum would be like, Pietro, you'll never guess. Someone is here with your hat on. And, like, me and Pietro look at each other. We're like,
are you new here?
This guy doesn't know. Bless his heart. But it was funny. I had Callum and Pietro both sign one of their driver's cards that I got in, like, the little packs.
Oh, yeah.
But it was so funny. Pietro was like, oh, yeah, nice hat. I was like, yeah.
Little do you know.
And then he did take a picture of me wearing the hat.
Oh, nice.
I don't know who because he was like, oh, I need to send this. I was like, okay. So I posted for the picture. Don't know who he sent it to. I think he meant sending it to Enzo.
Maybe the Pauly brothers or something?
Yeah. So I don't know what he did with that photo. It's just sitting on his phone, which is so funny that
there's multiple.
There's two pictures of me just sitting on Pietro's phone.
That's so funny.
No big deal at all. I'm not freaking out about that at all.
No.
And so yeah, we get through the line. Arthur was very nice. A lot of the drivers were kind of, like, distracted because, like, there were many times that we'd go through a line and, like, they would be signing stuff, and they would just be talking, like, their strategy for the race. Like, they'd be like, well, maybe if, like, we push hard at this point, and then you take this. I'm like, I don't know if I should be overhearing this. Like, am I allowed to be hearing this right now?
Rexy said they're going to push hard on
yeah.
42.
I, like, start, like, exchanging information. I'm like, I heard the Penske guys talking about this. Like, that's, like, how, not that I really understood, like, their lingo and what they were saying. And obviously, they didn't say anything, like, super secret.
Yeah.
But it was just funny, like Scott Dixon, like, we went through Scott Dixon's line in IndyCar, and he was, like, so attentive. He was so nice. He was like, where are you from? Like, thank you so much for coming.
I love that.
And I told him, he's like, no, we gotta push, and then I'm just watching the footage, and he goes, he's like, yeah, sure. Thanks for coming. Anyways, I'm like, you know what? I'll excuse that.
That is so
I'll excuse
funny.
that, yeah.
Oh,
Colton Herta was also in my first line as well, so CrowdStrike.
How did Colton's team do?
Well, Colton crashed, and they got a couple of laps down. They were able to fix it, but they got a couple of laps down, so nice. Not great.
Yeah, I'm just like, I had such a fun, I think I already said this. I wish I could have watched more of the race, but I had so much to do.
Yeah. But then I went to the second line, which in the second line was Romain Grosjean and the Iron Dames. So I got to see them. I love the Iron Dames. They're all very, very nice.
You got me
Their
a shirt.
table, yeah, I got your shirt. I got myself an Iron Dame shirt, and I got a Pratt Miller shirt.
Woo!
But the Iron Dames, like, the table vibe was just different. Like, there was so much more, like, they had, like, stickers, and, like, when we were going up, like, they also, like, had, like, they were at the end of the row, and, like, their PR person, like, brought a group of girls, like, through the line or whatever, and, like, up to the table as, like, they were signing for us. Like, these are the interns that we were talking about in the program.
Oh, cool.
And it was, like, a program for, like, getting women interested in motorsport, and they were, like, all younger. Like, I would guess probably, like, high school or early college. And they're like, well, because the driver's signing was near the end at this point, so they're like, you know, we're going to have you all take a picture with them and kind of do, like, a meet and greet afterwards. And I was overhearing it. But it was just, like, a different, it was more, like, a fun atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then we go to the third line, which at this point it was, like, kind of finishing up. And there wasn't even a line at this one anymore. But the last one was, was James Hinch. Hinch left. And so I don't think I told you this. Our friend Izzy was there. And she gave him a bracelet that said the C word on it. And, like, it's a compliment, you know, like, but it was just funny. And she gave it to him, and she goes, I know that you're always serving this, so I wanted to give you this bracelet. He, first of all, loved it.
Oh, I love that.
He put it on right away, and he goes, oh my gosh, like, he goes, I think this is a first that he's like, you're talking about getting a bracelet with that. He goes, I think this is a first, and I don't know what came over me, but I go, that's the first time you got a bracelet with that? I'm kind of surprised. And his face, Marley said she couldn't believe that I said that. And I didn't think it was that weird of a thing to say until after the fact, but he goes,
I love that.
His jaw just kind of dropped. He goes, and I go, ha ha. I go, it's a compliment. And then I was making a joke because he was the first one in line at the table, so their PR person was right next to him at this time. And I go, yeah, you might want to take that off when you do your next PR video. And he goes, nope, I'm not taking it off. I wear every bracelet I get every weekend, no matter what it says. And the PR lady was like, she like made like a face, and she was like laughing. She's like, ha ha. So it was really funny. I kind of forgot about that interaction.
I love that he loved it so much.
Yeah, he like put it on immediately.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was so proud of Izzy for having like the balls to give that to him. But then again, I said that. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. I didn't even think about saying it. It just came out of my mouth.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was fun. And that was the last line that we went through. And I got all of them to sign the driver's license plate. Honestly, I was running out of room in the last line, so I kind of picked and chose some people on who to sign it, but yeah, it was really cool.
Nice.
And I was really surprised. I was truly thinking that I was only going to get through one line, but I think because there were so many different lines, it spread people out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people probably only went to one line and then just left.
Yeah.
So it like made it easier to get to other ones too. So
nice. I love that.
But yeah. It's fun. And then the rest of Friday we spent kind of walking around the infield. We went to the team-specific like merch tents.
Nice.
And that's where I got the Iron Dames. I got myself an Iron Dame shirt, Gracie an Iron Dame shirt. And then they had this really cool like wall inside that like your dream, like what your dream is.
So cool.
I was able to write on that, and I got to talk with like the person doing the social media, and I was actually featured in the video.
That was cool.
Which was really cool. I got to give Podium Pop a shout out. I did she like said like, oh, like share your dream. And I originally filmed the video in front of the wall, and I was like, for my podcast to work with motorsport team one day. And then the video ended, and I looked at Marley, and I was like, oh, I should have like said Podium Pop to like, advertise. She's like, do it again. She's like, let's do it again. So I refilmed it. I was like, for my podcast, Podium Pop, to work with the motorsport team with it. So that was really cool. She was really nice. They like remembered us when we came in the next day.
Nice.
Like the people that were working the booth. Yeah, it was really good vibes in there. It was like everybody else had like a tent set up, and they had like an actual like merch shop trailer.
Yeah.
That was like miles nicer than any of the other teams had.
That's cool.
But it was really cool. And then I got this Pratt Miller shirt also.
Oh yeah, I like that. I saw a mom and a daughter. They did like a little vlog of going into the little merch shop. It was cute. It
was a really cool shop. And like I said, they were all like, they were very nice. Like we even got up there and they were like, we just got these new stickers in. Take some of these stickers. And they're like, take some for your friends. Like all the stuff. They got stickers. They had some pins. And yeah, I loved it.
I love that. Oh, wait a minute. First of all, how cool was the track?
Oh my gosh.
It was like a bucket list track for sure.
It was so cool. Like just seeing like all of like the colorful seats.
Yeah.
And seeing like especially on like the first day, like you were standing on the infield again, it was the grandstands were closed. So we were kind of on the other side seeing the grandstands. And, like, seeing it for the first time, like, you just look up. And first of all, it's, like, huge.
Yeah.
But you just look up and you're like, oh, my gosh. Like, it, like, gives me, like chills thinking about it. It's just such an iconic track. And just being able to kind of, like, see it all and be like, I'm here at the Daytona International Speedway.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you write your name on the track?
No, we didn't.
Aww.
I wish.
I saw a bunch of people doing that.
Yeah. No, I didn't write my name on the track. Should have.
Okay. Next time.
Yeah. Next year.
Yeah, next year. I'll be there next year.
Yeah, she's going. I'm not. Just kidding.
We're gonna do a trade-off.
No, we will be there together.
What was I going to say? Oh, when were I saw you guys were on the track, though. When were the times you were allowed on the track?
So, yeah, they had the track open right before for the grid walk.
Cool.
So they originally had, like, just a section of the track open, and then they were doing the driver introductions, and then they dropped the ropes to where you could actually go and, like, circle the cars. I'm not going to lie, it was very, it was a lot. It gave me a lot of anxiety because there were so many people all trying to get around the cars. Which again, luckily we had like Andrea in our group, and Andrea was like, excuse me," and like she got us to the cars that we wanted. Like I was able to take a picture right next to the Pratt Miller 73 car. Nice. Marley was able to get a picture with Spike.
I was just saying, I feel like Spike and Rexy probably had the most.
Rexy was surrounded.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
But it was really cool. And then I also got to take, which I actually forgot that I have, but I got a really like close. I got really close. They had it like roped off, but like just in a short space. Mm-hmm. Really cool videos and pictures of like the trophies.
Nice.
Because they had those out on the track, and then we were in the infield, and we went to the track that way, and then we were able to hang on the track for a little bit, do that. We were able to walk on it, like walk on the banking, walk and see the cars, cool. Like look right into the garages, and then we could have exited to the infield, but we wanted to get to the grandstands for the start of the race, so we exited out of the grandstands.
Oh, nice.
And we got a really good spot. There's like one specific section that was like right in front of the TV screen. It was right at like pit. Well, not main pit exit, but where they were coming out of the pits, mm-hmm. or coming out of where they go for their tire changes, but the pit exit's like kind of around the corner. And it was like right like before like the first like turn one, mm-hmm. and it was like the perfect place to watch. Nice. We pretty much the whole time in the grandstands, other than like a couple of hours we spent in the 170 section, because it was perfect location to watch it. So we sat up there. So many people. Okay, so actually I wanted to tell you about this.
Yeah.
So many people that we met in the grandstands, we had really good experiences with. Mm-hmm. We've heard from a couple like other content creators that they had some bad experiences with the fans at Daytona.
Yeah.
Which I think any big race is going to kind of be like that. Like we had some not great interactions with people at the Indy 500,
yeah.
But every other IndyCar race we went to, we had only amazing interactions.
Yeah, absolutely.
But all of the interactions that I had on the grandstand side of things, every person we talked to was so nice and welcoming, and most of the people in the infield as well. We got like a couple like weird looks when we were filming videos. Mm-hmm. For the most part, no one said anything to us, which is good. But something that we kind of noticed is like every person we talked to, and again, we could have just been finding like the good eggs.
Yeah. But
every person we talked to was so like excited to see new like female fans.
Oh, that's cool.
And we're talking to like these like older guys that have been watching motorsports for years, mm-hmm. And been coming to Daytona since they were kids, and like they were all so excited. So many of them were like, we love the Iron Dames and what they're doing, and we just think it's so cool. Like 2 different men came to us and they're like, those chicks can drive the wheels off that thing. Like they were like talking, and like they were just so nice about it. And I don't know, like it was approached completely differently than like how like Formula Academy is approached. I think it's because it's an equal playing field, and like, you know, Iron Dames outqualify them all the time. Like they do fantastic in these races, and I think it just proves that in a racing series that isn't focused as much about like the sponsors and money as like Formula One and even IndyCar is.
Yeah.
Like IMSA really truly is about the racing. It allows for these talented like women drivers to show what their talents are, mm-hmm. versus again in like other racing series, like you can have an amazing, you know, woman driver, but if you don't have the sponsors, you're not able to kind of show your talent. Yeah, and it does turn out that some of the women drivers that do have sponsors, not that, I mean, we have amazing women drivers in Formula One Academy and IndyCar.
Yeah.
But like, it's just more, it's like, it allows for like the talent to really shine through.
Yeah.
And kind of show what can be done.
That's cool. I love that.
So we had really good interactions.
Yeah,
we were talking to a team member from Pratt Miller, and he was talking about how excited he was to see like the Iron Dames. He like brought it up like, the first guy we were talking to, we had like Iron Dames merch on, but when we were talking to him the first time, he just brought it up himself. He's like, are you all a fan of Iron Dames? I love them so much. I love what they're doing. And this is coming from literally another team.
Yeah.
But it was just really cool to see, like,
That's
just
awesome.
kind of talk to them and see those interactions. Again, I think we did get lucky with the interactions we did have.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone that we talked to was so excited to see, you know, just more women being involved.
That's exciting to see. I love that. Because I feel like, I don't know, you hear all these things, it's just exciting to see that people are.
Yeah.
Especially like how you said it was like, not just like younger men.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a lot of, like, really the best interactions were from, like, the older guys.
That's awesome.
We saw a lot of, like, young female fans there, which was super cool. And, I mean, obviously a lot of them were there with their dads, but I do think that the more, like we saw a huge kind of, like, migration from F1 fans to IndyCar, specifically, like, the fangirls last year. And I could totally see that happening. Maybe with IMSA, I don't know if it happened this year or next year, but I do think that it's on its way there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just so exciting to kind of be there to, like, see that journey and help that journey along.
Yeah.
And be able to, like, kind of be a part of it and just kind of, like, help show people the cool sides of IMSA like I was shown. Sure. And it's just really exciting. I am obsessed. Like, I will be going to another IMSA race this year. I would love to go to 2 more this year if I'm able to make it happen.
Yeah.
I'd go to all of them if I could, but I can't because that's too many. But it's just really exciting to see what like a totally different racing series is.
Yeah, that's
You're
cool.
gonna love it. Well, we have to go to one.
I can't wait to get to a race.
We gotta either go to Indy or I would love to go to Watkins Glen personally.
Oh, yeah.
Or Petit Le Mans. Watkins Glen, I just looked it up. I think it's in, I don't know, I looked it up. Me and Ryan talked about going.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So we could go to that.
Fun.
But I loved it so much.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to a race. Shoot. I had a question first about something, but I forget what it was. Let's talk about your night stint at the race. Because I feel like that's the thing a lot of people are really, really interested to hear about.
Yeah, so I kind of assumed that more people stay for the full 24 hours. Not many people do at all.
Your whole group decided to stay for the full 24 hours.
Yes. So we made that decision when we were talking about rebooking during the whole hotel situation. We were like, well, we were wanting to stay at the race late anyways. Might as well just stay the whole night and not have to book a whole other room on Sunday. So we only rebooked the hotel or the Airbnb that we stayed at for Thursday night and Friday night.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have a hotel room. We just had our car and ourselves and all of our luggage, which was a lot. And so we were like, okay, we're going to stay the whole time. And everyone we told that we were staying there, like, you're staying the whole night? And like the older gentleman that was excited about Iron Dames, he was like, I'll bring you coffee in the morning.
I love that.
We didn't get his name. We didn't get his number. I don't know how he was expecting to bring us coffee, but he did it, by the way. But everyone we talked to was like, wow, like, that's so cool that you're staying. And Marley made updates every hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted a couple videos throughout the night, and so many people were like, that's so cool that you're staying the full 24. How is it? And every time they responded, I was just cold. It's really cold.
Freezing.
I very briefly did sleep on the floor of the grandstands, which honestly was pretty comfortable for what I was working with.
Concrete?
No, it's metal.
Metal.
Yeah.
Better.
So that was the one thing is, like, I was comfortable other than shivering and being cold.
Okay.
So I had my winter jacket and a vest and a blanket, and I put my vest down, which was nice. I had like it was a cushioned vest. It was like a puffer vest. So it was a little cushioned, and it kept me a little warmer.
Mm-hmm. And
then I had my winter coat on, and I used my blankie. It's really cute. It's checker print. I got it from the gift shop.
Cute.
And that worked out really well. If it was slightly warmer, it would have been perfect. And I used my backpack as a pillow. But because it was so cold, like, I would fall, like, once I was asleep, it was good. Like, I slept, like, the first time we tried to get some sleep, I slept for maybe, like, 45-ish minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke up having to pee, and I was so mad because I was like, I'm comfortable, and I know if I get up and I pee and I come back, I'm not going to be able to get comfortable again. And sure enough, I came back, and I could not get warm, and I was shivering so much. I was like, this isn't working. So eventually I stood up, and then we were kind of sitting around, and then we saw our friend post about coffee because all of the food places closed as well after like 10 p.m. Yeah. And we didn't know when they were going to reopen. And so we were cold and we saw that they had free coffee and like guest service in one of the,
that's nice.
In one area. I mean, it was just like normal coffee and like cream and sugar, but like
better than nothing.
It was, yeah. And so we're like, I don't even love coffee that much, but I was like, let's go get some. So it was warm. So we go get coffee and then we go to section 170, which is where we pretty much spent most of the time. That's where the screen was too. It's also hard to watch the race without the screen. And so that was difficult. At one point when we were in the section without the screen, I was laying on the ground. And for a moment, like, I had my ear protectors on, but you could still hear like a little bit, and you could feel the cars, which was actually really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
But at one point, I like overheard on the speaker going, "Oh, yellow flag! Oh, that's a car on fire!" And both me and Andrea pop our heads up out of the grandstands. Like, if they were like recording or someone was like had the camera on, it'd been so funny because we heard car on fire. We go pop our heads up, and we're like trying to figure out what was going on, and it was on the farthest like corner, so we couldn't really see. We had to do some further investigating on our phones, but it was nicer to be in front of the TV screen. But then once we were over there at the TV screens, it was like probably like 4 a.m. at this point. I was so tired. I was like, couldn't get comfortable sitting in a seat. And, you know, laying on the ground in the other grandstand that we were in the other section, there was nobody else around. So it was just us. But there were more people in 170 near the TV screens. And so, like, I wasn't going to lay on the ground because I'm like, I'm not going to lay down in front of all these people and be, like, weird, you know? I found myself, I couldn't get comfortable in the seat, so I couldn't fall asleep in, like, sitting up in the seat. And I literally was so tired, I found myself staring at, like, the chairs. Like, I'd pick a color, and I'd stare at the chair, and I would zone out. And then I'd, like, check back in, and it'd be, like, 5 minutes later, and be like, what did I just do for the last 5 minutes? I just stared at a chair.
Oh, that's so funny.
And so I was like, I need to get some more sleep. So I look at Marley, I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I lay, and it also, there was condensation from, like, the morning dew at this point. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. And so I laid down. I tried to get comfortable. The people all around me. I mean, there weren't a lot of people there still, like, but there were more people. And I just took a nice little nap. And I probably napped for like an hour and 15 minutes.
Nice.
So I got a total of like 2 hours of sleep the whole time.
Solid.
And that was kind of touch and go because it definitely wasn't great sleep that I was getting.
Yeah.
But I did get about an hour and 15 minutes.
Putting in the work.
And then I woke up. And the sun was rising, and I was like, as soon as the sun rose, instantly warmer. Instantly so much warmer. And our friend Ryan was sleeping in the car, and we were like, hey, like, because you're already in the car, if you want to go across the street, use the car to pick up some breakfast, and then bring it to us, like, maybe. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm absolutely going to do that. So he brought IHOP, so we were eating IHOP in the grandstands.
I love that.
And the sun was up, and the vibes were high, and more people were showing up. And I was like, every 20 minutes, I was like taking a layer. I was like, I got rid of the vest, and then I got rid of my winter coat, and then I got rid of my sweatshirt, and then I got rid of my thermal, and I was just in like the t-shirt. And I had 2 pairs of pants on. I got rid of my sweatpants. I just had leggings, and I was like taking off my beanie. I was like literally stripping in the grandstands like every 20 minutes because it was getting like the temperature like instantly shot up. And
that's so crazy.
The vibes were just amazing.
I love that.
It was really like, there were times at night where I was like, why did we do this? But then the sun rose and I'm like, that was so cool. Like, I'm so happy that we stayed the full 24 to say that we were able to and that we did. And we didn't leave. We actually did leave for like 20 minutes. And we walked across the street to Target and came back. But I'm going to count it. But it was just really, it was such a cool experience. I don't know if I'd stay the full 24 hours again. Although me and Marley were like, if it wasn't as cold, I probably would stay the full 24 hours. Not if I'm driving home the next day, though.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like, if I was flying, I would absolutely, if I was flying and if it was warmer, I would absolutely do the full 24 hours again.
Yeah. You can't predict that, though.
But you can't predict that.
A real question.
Okay.
Did you eat a Daytona Speedway hot dog? Did they have them?
They did.
Oh, no!
I didn't eat a hot dog, but I ate a lot of corn dogs.
Oh, okay.
I was in my corn dog era, and let me tell you, I got this from the Budweiser Bistro in the Hard Rock Bet Fan Zone. They got some really good corn dogs.
That's hot dog adjacent.
It's hot dog adjacent. It was really good.
That's amazing.
Marley did have a hot dog, though, so she could give us a guest review, maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to ask.
But prices weren't bad. I mean, they weren't great.
Yeah.
They were more expensive than I would say a general like an IndyCar race would be. But it's the Daytona Speedway.
Yeah.
Like, I would actually say maybe it compares to the prices of IMS.
Okay.
But it's like obviously like Gateway and like Mid Ohio is more expensive than all of that.
How are the bathrooms?
They were fine, and actually, so when you're in the grandstands, the bathrooms were really nice.
Oh, okay.
Because they were actual bathrooms.
Yeah.
And then there were some bathrooms in the infield like garage area that were similar to like they were like indoor outdoor bathrooms. Like they were like kind of like in like the Mid Ohio garage where like they were like
I gotcha. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was like a shelter that they were in,
like
but it was like open at a park. Yeah, and then they also had porta potties, so they had all three options.
Wow.
But the bathrooms in the grandstand area, those were really, really nice.
Okay.
And it blew my mind because every time I went to the bathroom, not every time because at night obviously, but during like the actual like day times of the race, every time I went to the bathroom there was a line out the door for the men's room.
Oh yeah.
I never once had to wait for a bathroom.
That is.
Which is like me and Marley couldn't stop like talking about it.
Oh yeah.
Because like you go to like any concert ever or any other event ever, and the women's line is always like 5 times the size as the men's line, and it was like the opposite, and we're like, this is crazy.
That's
yeah.
Amazing. I do remember that as a kid when I went to the Kentucky Speedway with my dad, and the girls' line being a lot shorter, and it was like I was in middle school, so obviously like I was like by myself, and I would come out, and I remember I'd be like, how am I out first? Where's my dad? And I remember one time I was like, shit, I'm lost. Yeah. And then like 5 minutes later, my dad came out, and I was like, what in the world?
Yeah. No, it was really cool. I think it'll be interesting because we're going to some hopefully new races this year. So we'll do another like review of all the different like tracks and comparisons, and bathrooms will be on it. But I will say, I was very, very impressed with the Daytona bathrooms.
I love that. I had one more question about stuff. Oh, bag policy and stuff. Did you run into any issues?
No.
Was it easy?
Very, almost a little concerningly easy.
Gotcha.
Like, they did have rules that you had to, like, stay by, like, technically, like, with coolers. Not that we brought a cooler in, but they did have rules for coolers. They did have rules for, like, technically, like, umbrellas and, like, tripods. Other than going into the small fan zone section in the infield, they did not check anything on me.
Wow.
They barely checked my wristband.
How'd you get the wristband? How did that work?
They had like sections in front of the gate entrances that you could either go past if you already get your wristband, or you could check in and get your wristband. We accidentally went to like main ticketing office to get ours because that's just where Uber dropped us off the first day, but it was pretty easy, pretty manageable.
Overall, how would you rate your experience out of 10?
I would rate it a 20 out of 10.
Woo!
Maybe one of my favorite races I've ever been to. That's favorite race weekend for sure.
That's amazing.
So we will be back next year. I love IMSA.
I was going to say, notice how she rates it 20 out of 10. I wasn't there. I'm kidding.
It would have been a 50 out of 10 if Gracie was there.
Of course.
But yeah, fantastic weekend. I loved it so much, and I will be at another IMSA race this year if it's the last thing I do.
Absolutely. We are about to run out of our allotted time. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week. Not too sure what the episode's going to be, but
maybe our predictions.
Maybe our predictions. Yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.